After my husband's passing, I kept one crucial detail to myself. He had transferred full ownership of the company to me. At the memorial service, my son stood with a smirk and declared, "Mom, I'm in charge now. Your new role is cleaning my office bathroom." He had no clue what awaited him at headquarters the following morning, 40 days after the loss. They say the soul completes its farewell to this world. I sat in the deep armchair of our Hamptons home, feeling as though part of my own spirit was preparing to follow my beloved husband, Victor. The house buzzed with guests speaking in hushed tones, the soft clink of glasses, and the sweet scent of lilies I had personally arranged. Everything followed proper protocol for honoring a man of Victor Langford's stature, founder of the prestigious Evergreen Reserve. From the outside, I appeared to be the grieving widow at the center of it all. In truth, I felt like an observer behind glass, watching a carefully staged scene. Guests offered the usual condolences. "Alina, stay strong." Victor was extraordinary. I nodded politely and managed faint smiles, but their eyes passed through me. They saw only the elegant accessory who had spent 40 years hosting flawless dinners, choosing perfect table settings, and ensuring every detail reflected excellence. None of them realized that during those elegant evenings, beneath the clinking crystal and warm fireplace glow, most important deals were quietly secured. It was I who spent hours on calls with suppliers, not just discussing business, but truly connecting about their families, their passions, and their lives. Victor often said, "Alina, I build the structure, but you bring it to life. Without you, it's merely walls." Now the house felt hollow. In my lap rested a slim, embossed leather folder the notary had given me privately after the formal reading of the will. The public will divide the estate and properties between my son and me, but the company was never mentioned. That truth lived here. Victor had left me 100% of the shares in Evergreen. Reserve his final act of trust. I traced the folder's surface, the only solid thing in this surreal haze. I overheard whispers near the fireplace. "Poor Alina. How will she cope alone?" Victor handled everything. They weren't wrong in their assumptions. Even my son, Marcus, believed the same. I spotted him across the room, animated and confident among the executives, already acting as the new leader. He gestured boldly, patted shoulders condescendingly, and wore the eager look of someone ready to claim his throne. Victor had once confided in me, "Marcus has my ambition, but lacks your heart. He sees figures, not people. I worry it may ruin him one day." Marcus caught my gaze and approached with Arthur, our longtime CFO, trailing behind. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, his voice carrying a sharp new edge. He guided me toward the lavish buffet I had arranged that morning. "Starting tomorrow, I take full control. Dad's office becomes mine. You should clear out personal items from the estate. I plan to redecorate for corporate events. The city penthouse will suit you better, but fine for one person." He spoke so casually, as if discussing furniture rearrangement rather than evicting me from the home where I had lived for 4 decades, filled with memories of his father. I stayed silent as numbness spread through me. Marcus mistook it for acceptance. "And another thing," he added, wiping his hands. "You'll receive a pension, but idleness isn't healthy at your age. You need purpose." His eyes scanned me with open disdain. "You can begin by cleaning my office bathroom." Those words. In that moment, grief hardened into something colder crystal clarity. He hadn't merely insulted me. He had dishonored everything Victor and I had built together. What I did next, using the hidden power my husband had entrusted to me, would change the fate of the entire company. I left the buffet without a word and retreated upstairs, the folder clutched tightly. Once alone in the master suite, the weight of the day settled. After the last guests departed and silence filled the house, I made my way to Victor's study. The familiar scent of sandalwood and fine tobacco lingered. I sank into his leather chair and reflected on the empire we had built together, not just a business, but a network of genuine relationships. Marcus viewed the company as assets and profit margins. He didn't understand the human connections that formed its true foundation. Showing him the will immediately would have been to direct. Instead, I reached for my private notebook containing personal contacts I had nurtured for decades. I began calling key partners. First, Charlotte Moreau in Brussels, whose family chocolate house had supplied us for over 30 years. She answered warmly. I mentioned the leadership transition carefully. Charlotte understood the subtext immediately. I see, she said seriously. You can count on me, Alina. Next was Mr. Rajan in Sri Lanka, whose tea plantations provided our signature blends. He spoke with deep respect, affirming that their loyalty was to Victor and me, not mere contracts. Then Monsieur Laurent in France, whose artisanal caviar was legendary. He promised to stand by the values we had always shared. With each call, my resolve strengthened. These weren't transactions, they were lifelong friendships. My spiderweb, as Victor affectionately called it, remained strong. By dawn, I had set subtle forces in motion. The arrogant moves my son would make the next day at the office would trigger a chain reaction he never anticipated. The following morning, Marcus arrived at headquarters, full of triumph. I can picture every detail. He removed Victor's portrait, hung his own, and immediately ordered drastic cost cuts. He dictated a blunt email demanding 20% price reductions from all major suppliers, effective immediately, with no courtesy or explanation. Arthur supported him enthusiastically. They celebrated what they saw as bold leadership, unaware they had just insulted decades of trust. Meanwhile, I tended to the garden, finding calm in familiar routines. The responses came swiftly, not anger, but a profound, telling silence. In our world of honor-bound family businesses, such silence signaled the end of a relationship. Then Charlotte called, furious. The email was an outrage. Worse, she had received inquiries from Omnigrupa, ruthless conglomerate Victor had always despised, seeking confirmation of contracts for a potential acquisition. The pieces fell into place. Marcus and Arthur planned to sell the soul of the company to its greatest enemy. Rage and clarity surged through me. This wasn't mere greed. It was betrayal of everything Victor stood for. I asked Charlotte to quietly spread the word among our network. The alarm traveled rapidly across continents. The devastating consequences of their ultimatum would reach the office faster than they could imagine. In the sleek Manhattan conference room, Marcus presented to Omnigroup executives, boasting about optimized costs and exclusive contracts. His phone kept ringing from the warehouse manager, but he ignored it. Moments later, the manager burst in with devastating news. All shipments were canceled. Ships were turning around. The exclusive supply chain had collapsed overnight. The Omnigroup representatives shut down the meeting coldly. Without the trusted suppliers, the company held no real value. Marcus's triumph turned to ashes in public humiliation. Furious and panicked, he and Arthur raced back to the estate. They found me in the rose garden, calmly tending the flowers. Marcus exploded, demanding answers. Arthur tried threats mixed with fabricated stories of financial crisis, pushing documents for me to sign over emergency powers. I listened quietly, then retrieved the leather folder from my basket. As they read Victor's true will granting me sole ownership of the company, their faces drained of color. Shock turned to horror as they realized their betrayal had been built on a false foundation. In that garden, I delivered the final judgment that would seal their fate. You are both terminated immediately, I said calmly. Collect your belongings and leave my property by evening. Marcus and Arthur stood frozen, their world shattered. They left in stunned silence. I felt no joy in their defeat, only the quiet satisfaction of restoring honor to Victor's legacy. The next morning, I entered the office as rightful owner. I restored Victor's portrait, nullified Marcus's orders, and began rebuilding. I formally rejected any dealings with Omnigroup, and initiated an investigation into Arthur's actions. Weeks later, I traveled to Brussels for a personal dinner with Charlotte. Our conversation reaffirmed the power of genuine relationships. Months passed, and I launched a new product line symbolizing our renewed alliance. In Incisa, special confection named in honor of true partnership. Surrounded by loyal friends and partners, I felt peace and purpose. I had not only protected my husband's legacy, but begun creating my own. This story of quiet strength carries important lessons about respect and the true foundations of success. Elena's journey reminds us that true power often lies in relationships, not documents or force. Marcus saw only money and control. He never understood the human foundation his father had built. His disrespect cost him everything. This narrative explores legacy, honor, and the consequences of arrogance. While justice was served, one question lingers. As a mother, was Elena's final decision to cut ties with her only son too harsh? Or was it necessary to protect something greater than blood? What would you have done in her place? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story of resilience moved you, please like, subscribe, and support channel.